How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Radio. It's January 30th, 2012, here at Figure4Online.com/WrestlingObserver.com. Joined as we are every show by Dave Metlzer. Here to talk the 2012 Royal Rumble, the first show on the road to WrestleMania. And it's over. Sheamus is the winner.
WrestleMania's over?
Well, the Royal Rumble.
Okay.
Sheamus is the winner.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting Sheamus.
No, I wasn't either. I don't know if that's good. I mean, I guess it's they surprised people.
They sure did.
They surprised people. So I mean, I think that was what was accomplished.
To me, it begs the question: is Sheamus really going to WrestleMania, or is Chris Jericho going to beat Sheamus and win the shot at WrestleMania, thus rendering, for I believe the fourth year in a row, the stipulation? Actually, I guess many guys have gone on to get their title shot, not necessarily win.
I expect he'll be in a title match at WrestleMania.
You think he's going to be in a title match?
I would be almost sure of it, being that he's a babyface if they're pushing and they're trying to get to the next level. So I would almost be sure of it. So Jericho can there's still the WWE title is still there's Jericho can fight for that, or who knows what's going to happen. Maybe they could put it on Cena and have Cena and Rock fight for it. But he'll challenge. I would presume that Sheamus would challenge for the world title against whoever the champion is, whether they keep it on Daniel Bryan or put it on somebody else. I guess I would think that they would want to put it on Mark Henry against Sheamus, but I don't think that they would. And I guess it depends on how quickly Mark Henry can heal from all of his injuries. So who knows? We've got a couple of months, and whatever it's going to be will probably change a couple times anyway between now and then.
Well, let's talk about this show, and we got a lot of other stuff to talk about as well. I was not blown away by the Royal Rumble. Early on in the show, I mean, we had 9-minute championship matches. We had,
the first one, they were limited because of Mark Henry's condition in the first one.
Well, yeah.
I mean, he was hurting bad. I mean, there was one spot where, what was it, when Bryan had the LeBell lock on Big Show, and Henry had to stomp Bryan to make the save, and you could just see this look on his face, and then he started limping, oh man, that wasn't, I mean, he obviously shouldn't have been out there, but had to be out there, so just the perils of the job, and he was hurting.
Well, it was a three-way. You could have laid him out with something on the inside of the cage and then had a little bit of a longer match. I guess it was fine, but
they did lay him out.
9 minutes. 9 minutes for a world title cage match opening up the show. I was somewhat disappointed, not going to lie. Well,
I mean, they had a lot to get to. I mean, it wasn't as if they probably cut anything out of anything. I mean, they had a whole bunch of videos, and they did add matches that they didn't need to add, but they didn't need the Divas match. So I guess that maybe that was even thrown in, and with the idea that we can't go 15 in this match. Who knows?
Well, they did a three-way match, and after a bunch of different spots, Daniel Bryan and Big Show were brawling at the top of the cage, and Daniel's going over, and Big Show is holding him on by the wrist, and Daniel Bryan is literally hanging, and the only thing holding him up is Big Show holding his wrist. And he kicked and he pulled, and I thought, man, I don't know how he's going to get back in. And then he just fell down to the ground and won.
I sure didn't expect that to be the finish.
I didn't either. So
I mean, I've seen that spot, not that exact spot, actually. I've never seen that spot, but the idea of the guy, being over, and the guys, out there, being over the top, and the guys holding on to him and everything like that. I mean, that's never been a finish that I can ever remember.
Well, this time it was.
Yeah, and it was anticlimactic, and it was a match. It wasn't a world title match. It was an opening match that they put in a cage.
Yes,
that's what it felt like.
This didn't even feel like at the level of your normal SmackDown main event, to be honest.
Oh no! It felt like a opening match.
Yeah,
opening match at a house show, except that they had big stars in a cage there. I mean, there was nothing really much to it. A couple of things here and there. I mean, I didn't think it was bad, but it was an opening match.
I had a buddy come over that watched tons of wrestling growing up and is one of those fans that's kind of fallen out of it of late, hasn't watched a lot. And his first question is, how come the World Championship match is first and the champion came out first? And I said, that's just how things are done nowadays. So I have no better answer than that.
Yeah.
We had the Bellas.
Well, because that way, they, I don't know, they just, gave Big Show enough of a rest because he was going to come back out later.
We had the Bellas, Natalya, Beth Phoenix, taking on Alicia, Eve, Kelly, and Tamina. They built it up to a spot where all the girls are outside, and Kelly climbed up onto the post and did a dive onto all the girls, and they all fell down. And actually, it was fine. I somehow expected it to go wrong, but amazingly, with 7 girls catching Kelly, everything went out all right. So,
hey, I mean, there wasn't really that much margin for error on that one. I mean, like, it didn't look that dangerous to me.
No, they pulled it off. So
yeah, I mean, there was a couple stuff early that wasn't particularly good, but overall, as far as a women's match on a pay-per-view, I mean, it's better than the 2 women's matches on the TNA show on Thursday. It's a lot better than both of them, actually.
It was inoffensive.
So it was okay.
And then Beth pinned Kelly with the Glam Slam. There you go. I don't know where Beth or Kelly had been for the last few weeks, but here they were, and they were involved in the finish, so there you go.
Yeah, I think that there's, like, no one can figure out what to do with the women because they've kind of like blown through like all combinations, and now, I guess the deal now is Karma's back unless she's going to be out there fighting guys.
Mm-hmm. So backstage is Zack Ryder. He's in a wheelchair at least, with a back brace on, but he's back already. Didn't even take a week off, and he said he just had to be there to see Cena's match. So John,
why?
Well, to support him.
Shouldn't he say he was there to see like a good match?
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, he's not a real fan because the Cena and Kane program sucks.
Yeah.
Even though he's in it.
So Laurinaitis said, well, listen, I got a special room for you, and if you want anything, you just have to ask. And so Eve walked up, and she was outraged, and they gave her the lamest dialogue that she had to recite. And she essentially said that she hoped John Laurinaitis was fired tomorrow. And he says, man, talk about gratitude for giving this fella his own room. So after all that build, Cena and Kane, they are having the match.
Well, they had those videos too.
Yeah, they had all these videos for John Cena and
the Cena and the Rock video to build up WrestleMania.
Yep, John Cena is a man who some people love and some people hate, but by God, he's never going to change no matter what. And they had this song that started out sad, but then kind of turned into a little victory anthem for Cena, and he gave the sad face there at the end. And it was like I thought the video was awesome because if you're like a big John Cena fan, you probably watched this video and thought, man, what a great guy that John Cena is. And if you hate John Cena, you probably watched that video and went, man, I hate that guy. So really, it was exactly what you wanted here on your television. So all this build for this Kane-Cena match, and they're in the middle of a match, and they're outside brawling, and all of a sudden the bell rings. Just like a top-of-the-hour Raw match. The bell rings. They got counted out of the ring. So they brawl backstage, and Kane kills Cena with a bunch of chair shots, and then he notices, oh, there's Zack's dressing room. So he goes inside, and there's Zack, and Eve had gone in with Zack, but she's no longer there. So maybe she went to get him something to eat, or I don't know what, but he destroys Zack with the suffocating claw, and he wheels him to the ring, which is a very difficult task for Kane, by the way, to wheel this fellow to the ring. So Eve then runs out, and she's begging for Zack's life, and nobody cares in the crowd. And in fact, there are people cheering for Kane. And he ends up giving Zack the tombstone, which gets a pop. Then he goes after Eve, and there's more people cheering. And then Cena runs down, and everybody boos Cena. And then Kane gives him the choke slam, and everybody cheers Kane. And then Kane spares Eve and stomps away, and the feud must continue. And I was actually thinking about this when we did Observer Live today. Rock's not going to be back until the end of February, so they had to do something here to continue this feud, as much as it sucks. And I don't know, they may even be doing a match at the Elimination Chamber for all I know. But
to keep Cena out of the Elimination Chamber match so he doesn't lose? I
guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this match sucked. The storyline sucks. The finish sucked. This whole thing just sucks. Nothing good to say about it.
Well, they put a lot of heat on Kane. I mean, they usually don't put that much heat on their heels.
Wow.
So I thought that was, it was okay. Eve cried.
Yeah.
Hey,
she did cry.
She cried.
She probably realized how deep into the storyline she was.
I guess.
I'd have cried, too.
For different reasons. I almost did.
We had a Rock video package, and boy, did this guy come across like a world-famous superstar.
Well, yeah, he kind of is.
He definitely is.
Made him. He came off like a bigger movie star than he really is, because they were acting like he was like the not only a super charismatic guy, but the world's greatest actor.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys were like, not only is he got like whatever, but he's a great actor too. Like the rest of the actors only have star presence and can't act or something.
Mm-hmm.
But any video that has all those clips of his mom is fine by me. So I thought the video was great.
Drew McIntyre is still not fired. He came out for a match with Brodus Clay. This was every squash match that you've seen since Brodus Clay debuted here on pay-per-view. He did his moves. He pinned him with the high cross, and the girls danced. And there you go. Not much more to say about it.
It was 1 minute, and people liked it. I mean,
sure.
I've heard some people have a problem with it, and it's like,
I was totally fine with it.
I had no problem with it. It was over quick enough. I mean, if it had gone 10 minutes, I'd have had a big problem. For 1 minute of Brodus Clay in the ring entrance, everyone likes the ring entrance. The character's over. He's in and he's out. I mean, the idea is he could have come into the Royal Rumble, but if he was in the Royal Rumble, he'd have to get thrown out. So they didn't want to beat him, so this is the best way to use him.
I should note that they're slowly adding different things to his act. One of the new ones now is he gets pounded on, and then he starts to jiggle. He jiggles up, kind of like Hulk Hogan hulks up, and then he goes on his big rampage and beats the man. So add that to the list of Brodus Clay high spots in this 1 minute match. We had Punk and Ziggler. They had a hell of a match, especially compared to the rest of this show, and worked hard.
I didn't think it was. I thought it was a good match, but I thought that they've had TV matches that were significantly better than this one.
Well, the standards were low on this show.
I mean, it was
especially
compared to everything on the undercard. It blew it away. But it was like when it was over, it was like it's a good match, but I was, for whatever reason, I was expecting something a lot better than this. Maybe that was unfair to but I just thought Dolph Ziggler in a WWE Championship match would be a 4-star match, and I don't think this was anywhere close to that.
So Laurinaitis came out and he said, "I'm going to be fair, and therefore I'm going to be the outside of the ring referee. And I'm going to let this fella be the inside of the ring ref." And he texted for most of the match outside, and they finally do this spot where the ref goes down. And so John Laurinaitis, instead of getting in the ring to take over, he goes to tend to the referee because Punk is on offense. So Punk puts on the Anaconda Vice, and Ziggler taps, and Laurinaitis is busy. So then he hits I think it was a cradle, and gets to
rolling
pin.
Reverse, and then Punk reversed it.
Yep. So Laurinaitis still outside. So finally, Laurinaitis gets back in, and Punk's yelling at him, and Punk goes for another GTS, but this time the feet hit Laurinaitis, and Laurinaitis goes outside again. Punk hits the move again, no Laurinaitis. So now he's beaten the man 3 times. So this time, the match continues, and Punk finally hits the GTS. So 4th time now he's pinned this man. This time the referee has recovered. He drops down a count. John Laurinaitis slides in. You're supposed to think that he's going to break it up or something like that, but no. He counts the pin with the referee, or at least he attempts to. They managed to somehow screw this up. So he gives the belt to Punk. He claps on the ramp. The whole storyline is he's apparently desperately trying to save his job. That will be the main event of Raw tomorrow. The final segment will be Triple H and John Laurinaitis deciding whether Laurinaitis keeps his job or not. And there you go. Punk retains. Boy, did they beat Ziggler like a drum here 4 straight times.
I felt really bad for Ziggler because it was like when they beat him by the 3rd time they beat him, I was pretty sure he almost had to win, and he still didn't win.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, there was the deal with the t-shirt, the sleeveless shirt is because this is Vince's rib on John Laurinaitis for having skinny arms.
Yeah, of
so
course.
He makes him go out there in sleeveless T-shirts.
Yep.
So there you go. It's like
it was funny. It fit his character, actually.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. So we had a commercial, And WWE is plugging all these brand new, exciting shows that are soon to be available exclusively on the WWE YouTube channel. There you go.
Debuts Wednesday.
Wow.
With Zack Ryder stuff and Santino Marella's TV show, and I don't know what the other ones are.
So there you go, the WWE YouTube, everybody. That's the network for the next 9, 10, 12 months.
Well, actually, it's actually a good idea for a couple of reasons. I mean, the big one being that they actually can try stuff out there that they can move to the network when they do the network, and they can get kinks out of programming instead of debuting the really shitty stuff on the network. You know, like they can do it here, and if it's really shitty, they can improve on it or dump it. You know, so actually, it's pretty good to have like a test run that gives you some exposure. And you know, YouTube's paying them $1 million a year, so it's not giant money for WWE, and they're probably going to spend, you know, maybe even that much on programming, or maybe they won't spend quite that much. Maybe Zach will. Zach says he spends, what is it, like, I don't know, thousands of dollars on his program himself. But you know, I think it's good because get the kinks out of your programming ideas before you start your network. Because if they start the network and it starts out and the programming is really bad, they're gonna have a really bad stigma to have to overcome.
So then finally we had the Royal Rumble, and of course Miz was number one, and I don't know. This Royal Rumble was like Jericho. It came down. Long story short, at the end, it came down to Jericho and Sheamus booted him out for the win. And they this was no Undertaker Shawn Michaels, but they tried to have like
I thought the last 6 minutes were very good.
Yes, they tried to have a finale. They worked really hard. It was a good finale. I didn't think it was like a great finale or anything like that, but like prior to about number 27, I mean, you know, it started out with Miz and then and Alex Riley and then Truth. So it was like, you know, it started out as a storyline. And then like it just felt like they had a lot of ideas for spots that would be funny, and there was a serious lack of star power. I mean, I was like, I watched it, and I watched it with friends, and it was entertaining, and, you know, there were things we laughed at and that sort of thing, but there was never, like, a point in the match where it felt like, wow, this is, like, the big match of the beginning of this Mania season. There's all these important things happening. They're building feuds. There's great importance placed on these things. Just felt like, what kind of wacky idea can we come up with? Let's have, Mick Foley do Sacco and Santino do the Cobra, which actually was really funny, but it was kind of like, that was the story of the Rumble. You know, let's, Mrs. The guy he doesn't like will come in and he'll throw out Alex Riley, and then Truth will come in and they'll brawl, and, you know, the Ricardo Rodriguez coming out during Alberto's entrance, that was great. Ricardo was great here, but again, it was like, it never felt important. We had Great Khali in there. We had Jinder Mahal in there, who's now on 4 shows every week. And, Zeke is in there, and he gets tossed. And, you know, Miz had been in there since the very beginning, and I think he gets tossed, like, I don't know, 48 minutes into the match or something like that. And it was just like an elimination. It wasn't played up like, man.
Big Show dumped him and Cody.
Yeah.
Together, and they were like the ones that were in. You know, Cody came in fairly early. Miz obviously from the start, and
they kind of mentioned it, but it was sort of like
they went. Miz went 45, almost 46 minutes,
but it was nothing. I mean, it was nothing special, and you know, you had all 3 announcers getting in there at some point, and
that was kind of overkill.
Yeah, and then they.
I mean, it was like this comedy thing. I mean, the thing that was obvious is like it felt like. You remember how we talked, are they going to do 30 guys or 40 guys? And it's like, they didn't even have enough for 30 guys.
No.
So, I mean, like, you had to put Michael, I could see, like, the way that they were building it, and it was all, you know, and Michael Cole was only in for a minute, but it was like a Michael Cole comedy spot. You know, the Lawler thing. I have to say this for Lawler is, like, when you consider his age, he's, like, freaking amazing, even though he only lasted for a minute.
Great. Drop kicks, whole 9 yards.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, kind of privately, you know, he'll tell people that that he's actually a better worker than, you know, 70% of the guys there, and he actually is.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of like scary in a way. When I mean, like you don't think of him as being 62. Like you know he's old, but he's like 62.
He's an amazing fella.
Yeah, I mean I can't think like anyone that's like. I mean he hasn't had a lot of injuries, so that helps. I mean he didn't drink, he didn't smoke, he didn't do drugs, so I think that actually probably helps a hell of a lot. But he moves around like okay. I mean better than not better. I mean better than Mark Henry, I guess. But
well, certainly a hell of a lot better than Mick Foley.
But, yeah, well, Mick Foley did he didn't drink or smoke, but Mick Foley did a lot of crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Foley was okay. I mean, like he shouldn't have run to the ring because that looked bad. But once he was in the ring, he wasn't taxed to do anything that much. But I mean, I think the thing when watching it felt like the number of guys who could win was really small,
minuscule.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everyone when they came in, it's like, well, he ain't winning. Well, he ain't winning.
And even actually going back to the announcers real quick, I just want to finish off what I was saying there. The thing that was frustrating about that is they did the spot where it was, first Booker's in, then Lawler's in, and then finally Cole's
in. Lawler first, then Booker.
Lawler, Booker. Anyway, the point is they all get eliminated, and then instead of like talking about the importance of this match or who's going to win, they all spent time talking about who had been eliminated the fastest of the three of them.
Which was Lawler.
Like, oh, for the love of God.
Well, I mean, it's the whole thing so Cole can get on Lawler's case that for the next year that I lasted longer in the Royal Rumble than you did.
We had Karma, who has had her baby. She's back, and she ran wild a bit there and laid out Dolph Ziggler. By the way, the whole thing about how anybody is eligible and how that was going to be a big thing ended up meaning nothing except Ziggler ended up coming back out for the Rumble, and then he ended up just getting tossed. Yeah, and Big Show. And then they both lost. But I remember as I was doing the play-by-play here, I was like, man, at one point I thought there's only 10 slots left. And at that point, we had, Cole was in, and then we had like Road Dogg and Jey Uso and David Otunga. And I'm like, okay.
I couldn't believe when David Otunga came out. It was just like, wow.
Yeah, we were running.
That was like near the end.
Yeah, we had 5 slots left. And I'm thinking, okay, Orton, Jericho, and 2 more. And then out comes David Otunga. And I thought, oh, my God. And, it came down to Final 4, Big Show, Jericho, Orton, and Sheamus. And Orton tossed Big Show, Jericho tossed Orton. Jericho and Sheamus did their thing. And Sheamus booted him, and it just felt like, where are all the stars in this year's Royal Rumble? And the answer was they just didn't come out. So there you go.
The answer was there were a lot of guys hurt, and there are not a lot of stars.
Yeah, it was very apparent in this particular match.
I guess Christian couldn't make it back, or they decided that they didn't want to debut him that way, because he's ready to come, just about.
Mm-hmm.
And, Del Rio wasn't ready. And
Ray's out, Mystico's out.
Oh, yeah, well, those guys aren't close to being ready.
Yeah. It just was it was lacking. I mean, I guess the best way to say it is, given what they had, they did the best they could. But this was far from the best Royal Rumble of all time. So
when the show was over, well, about 2 hours after the show was over, I was thinking back on it, and it was like, this is going to be a show that, in a year or two, when they ask, remember this Royal Rumble, and it's like, no,
you will not remember anything about it.
The only thing in this, and this was actually one of the best spots in the history of the Royal Rumble, was R-Truth walking on his hands when he got thrown out of the ring. He landed on his hands, and he walked on his hands from probably 10 feet probably to the steps, and then walked up the steps, because you can stand on the steps and you're not eliminated. You got to hit the floor, and he climbed back into the ring, and it was fantastic. So that was really good. A lot of good it did him, because it's not like I doubt he's going to be rewarded for that spot, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I know people are going to be upset with me, but I thought John Morrison's deal last year was way cooler.
It doesn't. John Morrison isn't in this year.
Yeah.
So this was the coolest thing that you got.
It was a hell of a deal. It was a hell of a deal. Although Lance Storm did ask, why didn't he just hop on one leg? It's like, because it wouldn't be cool. That's why. But maybe next year Santino can get tossed outside, but just get on his knees and duck walk back since his feet wouldn't touch the ground. I don't know. Anyway.
Actually, you know what? That's actually like the idea that you can be thrown over the top and hop and get back in is completely ridiculous.
No one's done it yet.
I mean, but if you think about it, I just think that's completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then I guess that they've teased it with the 1 foot hitting the ground and you can still get in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but whatever.
Next year, I want to see someone hopping.
Someone probably will.
Need to get
somebody to teach someone to hop, but that shouldn't be that hard. It's a hell of a lot easier than walking on your hands.
I can confirm that hopping on one leg is easier.
Yeah.
It depends on who you are, though. If it were the Great Khali, he may be better off walking on his hands. Because,
yeah, think about that. Think about what you just said.
Have you seen him walk?
No, but come on.
I had somebody...
The Great Khali walking on his hands.
I had somebody text me...
Not a this guy couldn't... It's not a prayer that he could do that.
Don't put nothing past the Great Khali. Maybe he could walk on his hands.
There's no way. There's no way. He could hop better than he could walk on his hands, and I know he can't hop either.
Listen, I guarantee he can't hop, but I can't guarantee he can't walk on his hands.
I can guarantee that guy. Come on. I would doubt that there's more than 2 or 3 guys on that roster who could have pulled that one off.
Probably right.
And none of them over 300 pounds.
Let me think about this. Yeah, you're right about that. I think you're right about that. Anyway, everybody, that's the Royal Rumble, and that leads us to Raw tomorrow, where, as noted, John Laurinaitis is going to do a job evaluation. He's going to get a job evaluation by Triple H, who, if you look back
Triple H returns.
Yeah, if you look back at the storyline, this storyline is just idiotic. You know, the whole Triple H deal, he was banished.
Wasn't he, fired and stuff, and then John Laurinaitis was put in charge, and then he was back the next week?
He was banished from Raw, but in the end, he's actually in charge of the guy in charge of Raw.
Yeah.
How stupid. But hey,
yeah, you're telling me.
We're not supposed to think.
No. The only thing I remember is in the first match, Michael Cole is just berating Daniel Bryan, and Booker T standing up for him, and I'm just like, what the what the hell is this?
I don't know what's going on.
And then they're both out there, separate at different times, talking about how, this AJ thing, how, Daniel Bryan has never had a girlfriend, forgetting that they frickin' he had a secret girlfriend for 6 months in their own storyline that, I'm trying to think. Booker has an excuse, I think. I don't think Booker was, announcing when the Gail Kim thing was going on. But Michael Cole has no excuse, and it wasn't like it was that thing with the Bella Twins leading to Gail Kim.
It wasn't on NXT.
What?
It was not on NXT. It was on Raw.
But it wasn't like it was for 2 weeks either. It was for a long. I mean, the Gail Kim thing wasn't for a long time. I mean, it was long enough to kill all of Daniel Bryan's heat, but the Bella Twins thing seemed like it was going forever because we were just, it was going forever and going nowhere. And anyway, not that matters, but it's whatever. I just thought that the whole thing of I kind of get where Vince is coming from on this one. Well, it'd be really fake if Michael Cole all of a sudden embraces him, but at the same time, it was just
it's not like that hasn't been done for 42 years or whatever it's been.
Yeah, but I see the one that I see that, but to have Booker be the one to defend him and Michael Cole be the one to rip on him, and then Michael Cole be the heel the rest of the time, it's just and then the people were cheering Daniel Bryan anyway, which was weird. I don't even say weird. It's just it was just a hardcore crowd. They're going to like the guy. They're going to like who they're going to like. That's the deal. Something else. Yeah, the other day, I guess on last night's show when we were talking about the surprise ending and everything, the deal was that one of the ideas that they were considering was having John Cena win the Royal Rumble and then do this thing where he would have to decide to give up the championship match so he could have the dream match with The Rock. And then, again, basically rendering the Rumble winner useless.
Yes.
But they did not go with that idea.
They did not. There were a lot of, let's see, there were proposed finishes of Orton winning, obviously, in his hometown. In the end, he got 5 minutes of television time on a pay-per-view in his hometown.
He's probably still hurting anyway.
Yeah, but it's a Royal Rumble. You can
he
protect
probably went about
yourself.
as long as he should have.
You can protect yourself in the Royal Rumble.
I mean, he did. Although he did two quick power slams.
Listen to Steve Austin. He'll tell you how to do it. That's what he was tweeting today. Advice.
On how to do the Rumble without getting hurt?
Yeah, well, he said, young guys, you got to go in there and go. And if you get blown up, find a corner and hang out.
Yeah.
It's good advice.
I don't know that anyone did enough to where they should have gotten blown up.
No.
Because, I mean, even with, like, Miz and Cody, I mean, they were
spent a lot of time outside.
There's a lot of downtime. I mean, there was like when wasn't like when Michael Cole came in. Didn't everyone just like stop? There were a couple of times where like someone would come in, and everyone would
Ricardo.
Stop.
Ricardo was the main one.
Yeah, Ricardo. Yeah, I feel so bad for him because it was like he's so talented, and what role can he play like long term? Especially if once the ring announcer thing runs its course, and
hopefully the ring announcer thing never runs its course.
Making him a babyface, which I mean he'll get over as a babyface, but there's like no longevity in him as a babyface because as a babyface he's like I don't even know that he can be Santino, and you don't need another Santino anyway when you got one.
I hope that he remains a heel ring announcer, and maybe one of these days when Ricardo turns babyface, he'll just be his babyface ring announcer. Yeah, you just got to keep them linked together. I want to see them at Cauliflower Alley together in like 40 years.
They don't keep people together that long. Although maybe they will in this case, just because just the way that like I mean I will say this he needs to work on his physique because if he wants to go somewhere like be serious because he's very talented. I'm not saying like it's just like they'll never push a guy looking like that as far as like as a serious wrestler. And ultimately, if he's going to be a babyface, he's going to have to wrestle. And ultimately, he's going to be a babyface no matter what. So I mean, it's just inevitable.
All right, no other preview for Raw really. I'm at the WWE.com website right now, and we've got no preview other than. I guess fallout of the Rumble and that sort of thing. So, and by the way, we never did find out what the end of the world meant with Chris Jericho. So,
well, it probably meant something that didn't happen.
Yeah,
probably something that they changed at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of weird too. I mean, because I almost felt like, it really, he did real well and he was in the finals and he wrestled well. But it was like there was no spot with like that big impact that you would want from his debut. Even though, I mean, I don't think finishing second and wrestling well, like, I don't know. Maybe it was the best that they could do.
Plus, he came back and okay, so first off, they do all these videos, these mysterious videos talking about the end of the world and that sort of thing. Then he comes back and he's doing the smiling babyface not talking gimmick. And then finally, after all this time, he says the deal on Raw, the world's going to end on Sunday. And then on Sunday, he comes out, gets in the ring, wrestles, and is the old Chris Jericho. It was like, what have I been investing in all this time?
He worked as a heel, and he was pretty much getting cheered. I mean, they weren't booing Sheamus, but they weren't booing Jericho either, really. I think there was one spot where he did get a little bit of boos, but for the most part, he was being cheered.
It's a very strange situation, and presumably we'll find out more tomorrow. And
I bet we don't. Well,
we have to find something out tomorrow. It's inevitable.
Or they can just ignore it.
Or something can change, I'm sure, but we'll find something out tomorrow about all of this. All right. The TNA...
He was wrong, and the world didn't end.
The world did not end because it is already tomorrow as of the time I'm recording this, and the world did not end yesterday. So,
yeah.
Oh well. Let's talk about the TNA tapings. What is the update on Sting and his injury?
Well, he's going to go to the doctor and find out, but he said he didn't think he was hurt that bad, so that's good. He's supposed to be the enforcer on the pay-per-view in the four-way, the Bobby Roode, Bully Ray, James Storm, and Jeff Hardy match. So we got that, and then
when is the pay-per-view, by the way?
The 12th.
12th, all right.
So they taped the Go Home show, which they had what did they have on the Go? So the Go Home show, right? So Bobby Roode, the world champion, is in a four-way with those other three guys. So on the go-home show, the finish of the main event is it's Sting and Storm against Bully Ray and Bobby Roode. And the finish is that Bobby Roode taps out to the Scorpion Deathlock of Sting.
I saw that and I was baffled.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the idea is that Bully Ray turned on him. But, again, so the world champion on the go-home show tapping out to a guy who's not even in the match, to the ringside enforcer. I mean, that's it's like tapping out to the frickin' referee or something, right?
Yeah, I read those taping results, and everything from Bobby Roode, James Storm for free on TV, to Sting beating Bobby Roode, to I just don't know what's going on. And I don't care, quite frankly. I can't get invested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that it'll probably be a great atmosphere. I mean, it's the biggest crowd they've ever taped in front of, and super hot crowd. So that's real good. We'll see how it looks. I mean, right now, I think that the thing that's important is that these actually the ratings the next 2 weeks of TNA are important, because if somehow or other they're able to get and Hogan does come back after a while, and I don't know if he's been gone long enough, because usually when Hogan comes back, you can get one rating, maybe even a second one out of him if he's gone long enough. I'm just not sure he's been gone long enough to make that work, but they have to have good ratings, because they have to convince Spike it's worth their while to put up the money to tape on the road, because Spike is obviously pulled back from that, and they're up until between now and May, I mean, there's no road tapings. They're back to just only taping at the Impact Zone, other than this one. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that makes a difference. I mean, it didn't at all before, and it probably won't. I mean, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it would the first week anyway, because who's going to know? Even though they did say it on Impact over and over again. Don't forget we're from London, but that's not going to make a difference in the ratings saying you're from London. The look of the show, if it's super hot, maybe it'll make them look more major league. I mean, it has before, but again, it didn't result in anything. So they don't got the money to do it. So there you go.
Hogan is Garrett's trainer.
Yeah, well, you could see that one coming for sure.
You know what, though? I'll be honest, I swear to God, I didn't see it coming, and I'll tell you why.
How could you not see it coming? Because the whole thing was building up to Hogan and Garrett against Ric Flair and Eric.
I know, but for some reason, I just thought they're actually going to have someone. And I didn't know who, but it was like, they got to have, somebody interesting, training Garrett. But nope, it's just Hulk Hogan.
Well, if there was who they could get is some trainer from some reality show, The Biggest Loser or something like that, because that's who they bring in as reality show people, right?
That is normally who they bring in.
Yeah.
But plus the idea of Hulk Hogan training anyone at this point is hilarious.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
But it freaked Eric Bischoff out.
Yes, it sure did. Sure did. All right, let's talk about the UFC rating. We don't have the final numbers in yet. Those will be in over the next couple of days. But so far, looking promising.
Yeah, it's probably going to come up, right now, based on the first number, it was 4% below what the first number was on November 12th. And that's a big, I thought anything, to me, 15% down would have been a success. 4% down is a success. And, it wasn't even, and it may even be better because that rating doesn't even include the last 18 minutes of the show, which in theory would be the highest rated 18 minutes of the show. So it may end up being very, very close to the first one. I mean, it wouldn't even shock me if it was slightly above it, but it's going to be in the, it'll end up pretty close to what the first one did, and that's a success. Everyone's happy with it. Fox is happy. UFC's happy that it works. That the idea of what they're doing works. Again, it was not a great show. I mean, the people who are acting like, this is the end of the world, the show sucked, no one's ever going to watch MMA again. I just keep thinking about, when Ken Shamrock and Tito fought the second time, and that pay-per-view, which did 775,000 buys, which was by far the most that they'd ever done. And that show was horrible, much worse than this show. This show was bad, but that show was horrible. And people were going like, that's it. You know, I mean, they got all these new fans, and they see this product, and they're never going to watch it again. And then the next Shamrock Ortiz did phenomenal TV rating, and then the Liddell Ortiz pay-per-view did over 1 million buys. And it's like one great show doesn't turn a company around, and one bad show, or I mean, we saw that with WEC. They did great show after great show after great show, and their ratings went down. That's not what does it. It's star power and storyline, and that that's what draws. Whether it's boxing, MMA, pro wrestling, whatever. Great shows. Certainly, a great show is better than a bad show. But UFC had one great show after another. They had a string of them, and their numbers went down because the other factors that are more important weren't there. And the thing here is the right guys won, and they proved that they don't have to give away championship matches to do a good rating, so they're cool. I don't know that Chael, Sonnen, and Anderson, because it's in Brazil, is going to do the kind of pay-per-view number that people think, but it's going to do a better number than Bisping would, and it's still one of the bigger fights of this year. One of the things that's that is going to be a big negative is these countdown shows being on Fuel. It's like, oh, yeah. Jesus Christ. There's a countdown show on Tuesday on Fuel, and the prime time at least is on FX, but I haven't even heard a number that the first two did, and obviously that means it wasn't very good, because if it was good, you would hear it. And I don't think that like the Spike audience is conducive to UFC, getting a good audience for Countdown, and I don't know that the FX audience is. Maybe it will be at some point. I mean, there's growing pains here in this relationship, but it's going to be interesting if they can use the how that show this coming Saturday is going to do, because it's not. It's really not a show that what I would expect to do well, but they've really worked hard in promoting it. I think that their TV commercial, I will say this, I have seen that TV commercial for St. Pierre and for Diaz and Condit like a million times. I think I've seen it more than like any TV commercial in so long. So I know they're advertising the hell out of it. They got the prime time. I mean, they're pushing. And I think that they sense that, they got something in Diaz, especially since Diaz is likely to win. No guarantees for sure. And Diaz and George, Diaz and George now, all things, as long as things don't collapse or whatever, that one will probably be the big one of the year, I think. I think bigger than Jones and Rashad and bigger than Anderson and Chael.
Still think that for your average casual fan watching, I think that the Chael Bisping fight was a good TV fight. It wasn't.
I thought, yeah, but the Rashad fight was long and dull.
The Rashad fight, yeah, I still didn't find it as horrifying as that first fight, as the opener.
No, the first fight was bad.
But I mean, you're talking about people that, we watch every single show, and we got a lot of awesome shows to compare the main event to. But maybe to your first time fan who's not watched a lot of UFC, maybe there was something about that fight that, it wasn't like a boring fight. It was just one guy outclassing the other guy, and there was some action, and there was a crucifix, and a dude was getting beaten on. I've seen a lot worse. In fact, on that show, I saw a much worse fight than the main event.
Oh yeah, but I don't think the main event was a good main event though. As far as I don't, honestly, I don't even think, even though Rashad completely outclassed Phil Davis, Rashad did not convince anyone
that he's going to beat Silva. None of us.
That he's going to beat John Jones. No, and then Bisping didn't convince people he's going to beat Silva. But which actually is a big deal, because if Chael was able to, if Chael really ran through Bisping, and people thought that he had a chance to beat Silva, I think it would intrigue them a lot more, and that didn't happen. But there's the flip side of that is that Bisping elevated his game, and Bisping can get a title shot, and half the people probably think that Bisping won that fight anyway, because he could have. So
we're still also talking about the potential of because it's on Fox, getting an audience of people like your neighbor, your buddy that doesn't watch a lot of stuff, and they don't know the level of fighter that Bisping or Chael are. They may watch that fight and go, man, what a battle! That Bisping, world-class fighter, Chael, world-class fighter. Now Chael's going to take on the champion. I want to see that fight.
Yeah, I don't think the challengers. I don't think that Rashad or Chael looked like the kind of guys when it was over where you wanted to see them. I can't wait to see them go for the championship.
No, if you're in the UFC bubble, you're completely correct.
No, I'm not talking about UFC bubble. I'm taking myself out of the UFC bubble because I'm just thinking of if I'm a casual fan looking at that. Neither of those guys looked that impressive. And you're not going to clamor for it. It wasn't like when Tito beat Ken Shamrock in a minute on TV, or actually the TV match was probably about 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but. I mean, it's like, yeah, and you're not in the bubble. You think, oh, my God, he destroyed Ken Shamrock, and that helped do 1 million buys. Neither of these guys did that. I mean, they won a decision. One of them, I think that Rashad, if you know fighting, looked a lot better than if you don't know fighting. If you don't know fighting, you just think it was a boring fight. If you know fighting, you could see, like, this guy was, he really outclassed a guy who's really good. You just think that, Phil Davis just looked like he was in over his head, which he was, as it turned out. As far as the only good thing is that Bisping wasn't hurt, and Bisping was actually elevated by losing, so there's a positive there. If everything goes perfect, you could do if Anderson Silva loses the championship to Chael, which is probably not going to happen, but anything can happen. It's possible. If he does, you could do a Chael Bisping rematch and then go to a stadium in England for it, and it would because people would believe and rightly so that Bisping could win the championship from Chael. I think that anyone who saw that fight goes, he's got a 45% chance to 55% chance of winning if they were rematched. If Anderson wins, I don't know they can go with Bisping getting the title shot that quick. He's probably going to have to beat some people. I don't know, maybe Munoz or Weidman. It's weird. It's not really. I have to look at what other names there were. I guess Munoz will be ready by the summer, so I could see, and that's probably when Bisping would fight again. So I could see Bisping Munoz in a summer match, and the winner of that going against the Chael Anderson match winner, and and then Munoz may win that fight, but he may not. It's an that's an interesting fight too because Bisping, footwork wise, speed wise, as a boxer, blows away Munoz, but he doesn't have a lot of power, he doesn't have the power that. And Munoz has a good one punch power, but he's not really a good stand up fighter. Munoz is obviously the better wrestler, but Bisping did a hell of a job of stopping Chael Sonnen's wrestling game. So I wouldn't, and based on what I've seen of Munoz's wrestling for MMA, I could see Chael. I'm getting mixed up. I could see Bisping, perhaps neutralizing that. I could see that fight. Bisping's got a real shot in that one. So he may go in there and get himself, because a Bisping title match could be real big in the UK, and I don't know how big it would be on pay-per-view, but it'd be okay. It wouldn't be bad. It'd be better than Anderson against, Yushin Okami anyway.
All right, so some of the questions here. This person says, when will we see Undertaker back on WWE TV as WrestleMania is coming up in a couple of months?
Pretty soon. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow, but soon enough.
All right, this person here says, got a lot of
maybe
feedback.
He'll kill Triple H so Triple H can't fire John Laurinaitis. He's going to go, John Laurinaitis, and then he comes from under the ring and just tombstones him or something.
I'll bet that's not what happens.
You're probably right.
All right. Let's see. Dolph Ziggler's booking at the Rumble seems like it might kill all of his recent heat. Do you think there's a chance he could reemerge as a top-of-the-card heel in time for WrestleMania, or is he back on the back burner for the foreseeable future?
He's going to probably wind up in the Money in the Bank match anyway, so and may do very well in that match. So, but I mean, you know, can he be in the top of the card? We know the top of the card for the most part, and I don't think there's a spot for him.
This person wants to know, why hasn't Beth Phoenix been on Raw for at least a month when she is doing house shows and not injured?
You know, Vince changes his mind all the time when it comes to talent. I mean, they were gonna start a Mason Ryan push, and they still may, but he wasn't even in the match, and Zeke was tonight.
That's right. Yeah.
Maybe that's the idea, is that they didn't want to put Mason Ryan in there to get thrown out, and they figured, you know, they're not doing nothing with Zeke anyway.
All right. At SummerSlam 97, was the finish of Austin versus Owen supposed to have Austin rolling up Owen like Owen did at Canadian Stampede the prior month? If not, what was the original finish?
I don't know. I don't know what the finish was. He broke his neck, and they just had to get out of there. I don't think that was the. Well, I mean, I know that wasn't the planned time of the finish, and I don't know what the finish was, other than Austin was going to win, and he had to win because I think there was a stip that he had to like leave town or retire or something. They had some crazy stip like that to where, like, even though he was paralyzed, he still had to win that match. They couldn't like audible and call it a draw or stop the match or something like that. He somehow had to get his hand raised.
In your opinion, is the quality of Raw and SmackDown today better or worse than WCW's TV during the bad period of 99 and 2001?
It's much better.
Nothing is that bad.
No, much, much better, especially SmackDown. But even Raw, you know, as much as we rip on Raw and at certain times, I mean, it's nothing compared to WCW in that era. The WCW in that era was ungodly horrible, and they drove viewers away. I mean, you know, Raw, you know, and part of it maybe because they're the only game in town. I mean, when WCW was driving viewers away, they were driving them away to Raw because there was another game in town at the same time, and maybe perhaps Raw not driving viewers away. I mean, you know, yeah, ratings very slowly are going down, but they've been slowly going down for years. But it's not like they're you know, they're nosediving, and WCW nosedived, and it's not like the house shows. I mean, there was a period where from year to year, there was like a point where there was a year-to-year drop of 85 and 90%. You know, where they would like average, you know, instead of like I don't know, maybe 6,000 and go down. You know, in the next year at that same time they averaged 600, and you know, WWE house shows are doing fine right now. They're you know, they had those bad advances, but those joint shows are now doing. The joint shows are drawn well. It's going to be interesting to see what decisions they make on that. You know, if they go to one show a night, because when they do the one show, it's drawn, you know, a lot better than the Raw shows or the SmackDown shows. You know, obviously better than the SmackDown shows would do, but a lot better than the Raw shows did. So I don't know what the economics are on that. If one show with a good attendance and less revenue coming in is more profitable than two shows where you're renting two buildings and you're doing lower attendance and you're flying two crews out. I don't know. I guess that we could probably figure it out, actually, not this time, but when the next quarterly thing comes out, which would be in January, March, that would be in May. Maybe we could look into that and see what kind of thing. But they're doing a lot like they did this weekend. Wasn't so much, but like last weekend they did singular shows when they would normally do double shows, and they did well with the singular shows.
All right, one more here. Whose idea was the disastrous kitten punch beatdown on Randy Orton by Shane McMahon that killed Orton's momentum? And did the pathetic execution of it cause any strain between Shane and Vince, Stephanie, and creative?
I never heard of anything like that. I never heard of any problems. I mean, I thought it was really stupid. But, you know, at the end of the day, Randy Orton did win the blow-off match and then got beat by Triple H. So, I mean, Shane was just there to be the setup guy anyway, I mean, he got to look good, but in the end he was going to lose, and he was there to, set up Triple H to look good. And that's what happened.
All right, everybody, we're going to wrap it up for today, but tomorrow we're going to be back after Raw. It is the follow-up to the Royal Rumble. It is the latest on our trip to WrestleMania here, and we'll talk about John Laurinaitis, Triple H, and everything else. Check out the front page for more. We got a lot of stuff up there, and we'll talk to you again after a while.